Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakwadash, and I want to say Shalom to Akim Nakwath out there pursuing this truth diligently, coming at you once again with another lesson. And if you happen to be new around here, what I just said in the opening was Shalom, all right, which means peace be unto you. And then I gave all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, which is the true name of the Father, who the world ignorantly calls God. Bahashem, which means in the name of. Yahweh Shai, which is the true name of the Son that the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. Bahashem Rakakwadash, which means in the name of the Holy Spirit, or the Spirit Holy. So all praise, honor, and glory to the Father in the name of the Son and the name of the Holy Spirit, right? Is what was said there in the opening. Of course, then I mentioned Shalom to the Akim Nakwath out there, and of course that's the men and women, all right, the sincere true believers in this truth, and really more importantly the Bakarim, all right, the elect. Okay, so if you're new around here, all right, this is one of those lessons where it might draw in some people that aren't of the usual people coming around, so I just wanted to enunciate on that and let you know what was said in the opening there. And today's title for this lesson, as of course you can already see, is the 4th of Yul Dai, right? Which is a satirical term, all right, just a satirical title, a funny title for the 4th of July, excuse me, which of course will be tomorrow. It's currently July 3rd, 2026, so tomorrow will be the day that the world celebrates as the 4th of July or Independence Day, whatever they want to call it, right? And what this lesson is about is that as a true follower of the Lord, this is not something that you should be celebrating. Okay, this is not something you should be celebrating. And of course, the ones that are followers are the Israelites, all right? And the Israelites are the so-called Negro, Latinos, and Native Americans. Now, you're not always going to look like a so-called Negro, Latino, or Native American, but that's who we are known as today primarily. Okay, it's about it's ethnicity, all right, based on lineage. It's not a skin color based ministry. It's not skin color based truth. Not skin color based salvation. Okay, I myself happen to look like a so-called white man, but I go back to the tribe of Benjamin. I always like to explain that because when you have people come around, the first thing they're going to try to do is make it a skin color thing. All right, that's one of the things you hear about the Hebrew Israelites. They say, oh, it's a skin color thing. It's not. Not about skin color for salvation. Now, is the Lord a so-called black man? Absolutely. And his son? Absolutely. All right. And back then, were the prophets? Yes, absolutely. They're so-called black men primarily. Well, melanated men. Not all of them were so-called black. Not all of them were Judites, okay, or Benjamites or Levites. Some were Issacharites or Gadites, right? So on and so forth. Men that were following the Lord, prophets, were from different tribes. So, I always like to throw that right out and put that out there. That it is not a skin color based ministry, because that's something that they try to put on us, the Christians and the people of the world. They try to say, oh, we're hateful and that you can only be black to be saved, and that's completely not factual at all. All right, that's a lie. That's false witness that they put on us. While there are some, all right, camps out there that do teach that the black only, right, we're not about that. All right, and I'd say most don't teach that. There's only a few that teach black only. It's only black, right? But anyway, with that, we're going to get right into the lesson, a course titled, again, the 4th of Yul Dai. And this is not something you should be celebrating. It's a worldly holiday. It has wicked origins. And we're not supposed to be being of the world, okay? We're not supposed to be being worldly. We're not supposed to be being conformed to the world. We're not supposed to be following after the people of the world. So why would we be celebrating and partaking in their holidays, okay? Why would we be going out and purposely celebrating freedom, which is what this whole holiday is about, right? When we're not free, when we're still in captivity, okay? When the wicked is still in rule of the world, why are we free? Why are we celebrating? Why are we joyful when we're not in a good situation? Okay? We haven't been delivered. We haven't been brought out of this. All right, the Lord hasn't came back yet. So why would we be rejoicing and being happy, all right, being stuck in a place filled with death? all right, that's ruled by an evil ruler, Esau Edom, all right, which is the so-called white man. You can have black people that are Edomites as well. You can have Mexican-looking people that are Edomites as well. You can have Asian people that are Edomites as well. Again, it's not about how you look. It's about who you are, all right? What your soul goes back to, all right? Your bloodline, all right? You either got an Israelite soul or you got a heathen soul from one of the other nations, okay? And it's important, it's integral, all right, in this truth that you are an Israelite. And how do you know? Well, can you understand this truth? Can you, even if you look white, can you understand this truth? Do you get this truth? Can you accept that the Father and the Son are so-called, black men in the prophet's word? Can you accept that his name is not God, the Father's name is not God, but it is Yahweh, and the Son's name is not Jesus Christ, but it is Yahushai? And you understand these things, right? The Holy Spirit will reveal to you if you're an Israelite or not, because if you have the Holy Spirit hop on you, you can start understanding, you can start teaching, you're watching, you're getting it, all right? Then obviously you'd have to be an Israelite, because these heathens, they don't get it, all right? And they're never going to sincerely call upon the name of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, because the name is dreadful among the heathen, okay? That's your homework, okay? A lot of people, and I'm sticking to that this time, because a lot of time I'll go and do it, but these Christians, they don't really look anything up. That's your homework. If you don't believe so, go and type in KJV, name is dreadful among the heathen, okay? Type that in. So a heathen's not going to be able to call on the proper name. That's why the heathens, they made their own little ministry, of many different sects and varieties, okay? Christians and Baptists and Seventh-day Adventists and all these different things, Protestant and Catholic, and they have all these different separations, right? We're not even supposed to have separations like that. We're supposed to, all be joint, in one mind, all so that we all speak the same thing. All speak, let's go improve that, all speak the same thing. This is 1 Corinthians 10, 1 and 10 through 17, excuse me. It says that, now I beseech you, brethren, by the name of our Lord, Yahushai HaMashiach. Now you're going to see it says Jesus Christ there, but again, that's just because of the translation, okay? If you go back into that, and we're not going to do it today, you can go on my page and go into my playlist, and there'll be like a quick start for new believers, and you can go in there and there'll be lessons in there that are breaking down the Father's name and breaking down the Son's name, all right, and showing you exactly how we get the names Yahweh and Yahushai, okay? So we're not going to do that in this lesson, but if you're curious on why that is, well, go and do that. Hell, if you want something a little bit quicker, some homework, just go and type in, when was the J, all right, created? And then realize, and then ask after that, when was Jesus born, okay? And then ask, how could the name be Jesus? And then it's going to give you a false translation. It's going to say Yahuwah, okay? Which, again, is incorrectly based off the modern Hebrew, all right, where they've added and changed different things phonetically, okay? But the ancient Hebrew, you get Yahushai, and, of course, the Father, Yahweh, as well. So it says by the name. So when you see that we're going through here and it says Jesus Christ, but I'm saying Yahushai HaMashiach, that's the original Hebrew, okay? It's speaking of the same person here, all right, in the Bible, okay, who you would call Jesus here, but it's the same name. It's the same individual. It's just we're using his real correct name, okay? It says by the name, and I'm talking about biblically the same person, because Jesus outside of the Bible, you guys have made overly tolerant. He accepts everybody, right? So you can be a wicked homosexual, effeminate, long-haired, pork-eating man, and he'll love you just the same as someone who's walking in a righteous way, which is completely off. But that's a topic for another day. So it says, by the name of our Lord Yahushai HaMashiach. Let me just start over. It says, verse 10, now I beseech you, brethren, by the name of our Lord Yahushai HaMashiach, that ye all speak the same thing, and that there be no divisions among you, but that ye be perfectly joined together in the same mind and in the same judgment. Okay? So, for example, all right, you have these other camps now. Who I personally follow Yahweh Bashem Yahushai through GMS, okay? Because that's the primary camp that GMS that Yahweh Bashem Yahushai is dealing with, okay? That's the prophecy camp. That's where the prophecy's coming out of. That's where the correct teachings are coming out of. If they say something wrong, they correct it. They're on it, all right? They don't let that shit slip through the cracks. And, they correct, they rebuke in season and out of season, all right? They do what they're supposed to be doing. But these other camps, IUIC, ISUPK, they really bring in a whole bunch of other, wacko stuff, and it completely just extra stuff. Doctrines of men, all right? Just like as the Christians do, bringing in doctrines of men. And I think, do we have that one? Well, I have that one in the other lesson I want to do. I don't know if I'm going to do that one today. I might end up doing this other lesson about these Christians. I might do another lesson about these Christians. We'll see. But I have one I want to do on Hell Doctrine because I saw I've done plenty of them before on Hell Doctrine, but I was watching the last live camp that was put up by GMS South Carolina 08. All right, the beloved elder Salakia. That's like a curse that brother's got on him or something. I don't know what it is. When you mention it, it's always, everybody always refers to him as apostle. I know he's not an apostle, but like the first thing that comes out of my mouth. And I know he's an elder. I don't know why that happens though, but it's like some curse he's gotta endure. You know, I feel sorry for the brother, the elder, still a brother but an elder. I was watching the last live camp that he did, and you know, you had this Christian woman, this Christian. I mean, I don't even know. She adolescent. I don't know how old she was. She looked young, and she was on that Christian, you know, that Christian madness, talking about hell, and you know, he was trying to give it to her, but she just couldn't get it. All right. So that's another, you know, and that's another thing. If you just can't get it, well, you got to ask yourself now, well, is it because you're a heathen, or is it just because you're a 2/3 and you're not meant to get it? All right, your eyes are, you know, you ain't got the eye salve. All right, you got dust and dirt in your eyes, and you refuse to wipe them clean, because Yahweh Shemi Shai is not giving you the ability to wipe them clean, right? So, yeah, so that might be something I get into a Hell Doctrine. But anyway, you got the GMS is bringing out the truth as it should. You got other camps that are bringing in all sorts of Christian madness, and that's really what it is. They're bringing in like it might not. I won't say Christian madness. I'll take that back. IUIC brings in a lot of Christian styled and flavored madness, but ISUPK they just kind of bring in a little. They bring in the hood, right? They bring in the street, which you shouldn't be doing, all right? And IUIC does that a little bit as well. But GMS, you know what they bring in? Prophecy, all right? Scriptures, all right? Making it plain upon tables, all right? Speaking plainly, all right? And that's that. So if you want the truth, I recommend going and watching GMS. And again, if you go to my, I'll show you how to get there, all right? For those that actually care, all right? You can go to the page. You go to view channel, all right? Well, this is obviously, you won't be doing that because that's, you know, all my stuff. But you'll be on my page here, Babylon's Fallen, Revelation 18. And what you're going to do is you're going to click playlists, okay? And then you're going to go down to click start for new believers. You're just going to click here, right? And in here, you're going to find a bunch. Any brother that you see, any channel you see in here, just subscribe to it. All right, GMS Infodoc 12, that's the Apostle Ariam Lob. You're going to have GMS North Carolina 25. I believe, I don't know what, that's a repost of another channel, but you can still subscribe if you want. I don't know if it's an active channel. It might still be. Remnant Save 144, that's the Elder Yashar Wamba out of GMS Dallas. GMS Declaring the End is the Apostle Tahar. All right, that's one of his pages. Daily Edification 4, that's the Apostle Gabar. Who else do we got in here? Those are the ones we got. But another ones I'll throw out that you should go and subscribe to. You go and do, this is the other page by the Apostle Tahar, so you should always go and do that, just in case, because it's got, it's old. I don't think it's active anymore, but it's still got, good information on it. And it's Don't Take the Charagma, okay? It's that one. And then we can go and get, is this one still active? It was active. You could still go and subscribe to it if you want. Elders in Transit 3, you can get right here. Here's another one you want to subscribe to. GMS Apostle Street Ministry. Okay, this is going to have the Apostle Tahar, the Apostle Gabar. It's going to have Bishop Sakaran, all right, running, man behind the camera, running it down, all right, absolutely. And no offense to any of the brothers don't grab here specifically. I'm just going and getting the ones that I watch a lot, and like the ones that you hear about a lot. You want to know about some war, all right? These two channels, GMS Exodus 2086 and then GMS Mark Ephraim 777. Those brothers down in Miami. And then I think I already told you this one, but GMS Declaring the End. All right, that's the Apostle Tahar. You can go and get GMS Dallas in Class 999 if you want. I think that's one of the other brothers' channels. I can't remember his name. Or it might be, that might be a backup. I don't think it's a backup. It might be a backup of Elder Yashar Wamba. What else do we got? Do those ones. And then right here, boom, can't forget. GMS South Carolina 08. Right? Go and subscribe to those and get you started, and you'll be, You'll be taken care of. All right, you'll be doing good. So do that, and then you can learn. You can start learning, right? But if you listen to GMS, all right, they're all gonna have the same, joined together in the same mind, no divisions, all right, and doctrine, all right. One person might think that, I don't know, pears are better than apples or something, but something like that. But we can have divisions in opinion like that, okay, but not in doctrine. You might think that grapes are better. I might think that nectarines are better, right? Something like that. So you're allowed to have an opinion, but you just can't have a division in doctrine, okay? So again, now I beseech you, brethren, by the name of our Lord Yahushua HaMashiach, that you all speak the same thing, and that there be no divisions among you, but that you be perfectly joined together in the same mind and in the same judgment. There you go. So anyway, that's a little bit of prefacing that to start up. So getting into this, we would all agree, all right, in this ministry, those that are GMS and those that are following GMS through Yahweh Shem Shai, that you should not be celebrating these wicked worldly holidays. Okay, you shouldn't be doing it. Okay, and before I get Amos 5 and 21, I'm gonna get something even more plain. I'm gonna get Romans 12 and 2. It says, well, actually, just start from verse 1. It says, I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of Yahweh, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy. Now, holy, if you go into that word in Hebrew, holy in Hebrew, it's going to say kadosh, but it's really quadash. Okay, the primary word for holy is quadash, and it's derived from the root kadasha. It translates literally to set apart. Okay, something holy is consecrated for a unique sacred purpose rather than simply being morally perfect, or rather than just being like everybody else in the world. All right, you're set apart. All right, set apart means distinguishment. Set apart meaning. Okay, set apart means to reserve, allocate something for a specific purpose or a special purpose, right? To distinguish a person, to make them stand out as unique or special compared to others. Okay. And we are. If you look into the Israelites themselves, even it says above all nations face of earth. All right, this is Deuteronomy 7 and 6. It says, "For thou art an holy people." There it is again, holy, separate. For thou art an holy people, separate, set apart, chose for a specific and more special purpose. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy power. The Lord thy power hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth. Now, Christians like to go and try to, beat around the bush and say, no, later on he accepted everybody and allowed everybody in. No, that's not true. All right, they try to use John 3:16 and get that word world, which goes back to the word cosmos, and they try to think that that means everybody, not just Israelites. But you got Ephesians, you got Romans, you got Corinthians, you got a couple other books that are, it's written to, Corinthians, Ephesians, Romans, but it's written to the Israelites that are scattered abroad. All right, and those lands that is being addressed in those specific books. Right? But Christians don't understand that. They don't get that. Again, because they're trying to make a separative, all right, and a very locked down ministry for only a chosen few for everybody in the whole world. And you can't necessarily do that. So when you do try to do that, you have to change a lot of stuff. You have to remove things. You have to add things. All right, you have to deliberately bend the scriptures and try to twist them to try to fit the narrative that's going out. You try to and that's what goes on with the hell doctrine. They don't really understand anything, and the Christians don't understand. The reason they don't understand is because the Christian ministry really is a ministry of white supremacy that was created by Edomites who can't understand. They can't get the truth. They don't have any discernment. They don't have the Holy Spirit working with them, so they're not going to be able to understand anything. But still, they want to be included. They still want to be included. Esau has a thing where they have to be included with everything, right? They're like a child. You could have something that's obviously a non-child activity, but they want to be involved in it, right? You have a bunch of adults sitting around drinking beer, and the child, he wants to be, included somehow, right? So you pour him a glass of apple juice or something so it looks the same, right? So he can stand around, if you're trying to deliberately, but he's not the same. That child's not the same as those adults, and he's not drinking the same thing as those adults, and he's not acting the same way as those adults, but he wants to call himself being around those adults and acting like them and walking like them and talking like them, but he's not doing the same thing. And that's what the Christians are doing. They're spiritually that child with that apple juice coming around to hang around the big boys drinking some beer, right? That's what they're trying to do, and you don't have it. Okay, you don't have it. You don't have the Spirit. You don't have the eye salve. You don't have any of it, right? And you're trying to step up to the big dogs, and it's just not gonna work, man. It's just not gonna work. Okay, so we are separate. All right, we are separate as a nation, as Israelites, and even more so, those that are in this truth. We're separate among the other regular Israelites who are not doing what is right. So it's what's the word? What do the brothers say? A chosen amongst a chosen, really. Because you have the chosen people, Israelite, and amongst the Israelites, you have the chosen, the elect, all right, who, Lord willing, we believe we could potentially be of, right? Lord willing, we're of, all right? Better hopes than not, all right? We hope and we have a good outlook on potentially being part of the elect, not being part of the elect, being a 2/3, right? So that's just how it goes. We're supposed to be being holy. Holy is separate, not according to what the people in the world are doing. So why would you be, if you're really following the Lord, why would you, as supposed to be being holy, be going out and celebrating a freedom from what? What do you really, I want to know, what is the freedom that you think you're celebrating? All right, we separated from England. You didn't separate from England. The Edomites separated from England, okay? And they came over here, all right, well, some of us were already over here, all right, as Gadites and Issacharites, and they came over and fucking slaughtered, raped, and pillaged, and fucking tortured, and stole, all right, from the Gadites and the Issacharites that were over here, dwelling here. Of course, those people are people who were originally from Israel, but they were over here. They settled here first before Esau came over and did all the fucking debauchery that he did. All right, and for those, by the way, I also want to say, those that say, "Oh, well, you just said the F word." Anytime when I say harsh language or swear or curse, as you would say it, that's a doctrine of men that you're not supposed to say those things. When you go into corrupt communication, as the Christians always try to get those scriptures, corrupt communication or vile speaking or any of these different scriptures, it's always talking about deceitful and non-factual speaking. All right, trying to get somebody to believe a lie, trying to corrupt somebody and corrupt their ways, as in doctrinal. All right, it's not saying the word shit or fuck or ass or piss or motherfucker. First of all, these words aren't in Hebrew, and they weren't around they might have been around in some capacity, but they were not condemned by the Lord. Okay, that's a doctrine of men that you've been told, and really we've gone into that before. That came later with the church. They didn't like that it was secular speaking because it was the peasants that were speaking it, and the church and then royals, they didn't like it because it was something that peasants were known to do, so they had to have more pristine and high class language. So it was really a class war, all right, thing, all right, and really a teaching of the Christian church, which we're not Christians over here, all right? Technically, we are. We're the first Christians, but not as Christians. We're Hamashiachim. And if you really want to get down to the Hebrew, Hamashiachim, okay? Not Christians. Christians follow Christ. We follow Hamashiach, Yahushai, okay? There's a difference. So, anyway, and they were first called that at Antioch, right? So, anyway. That's a topic for another day. Lessons within lessons within lessons. There's a lot. That's why you just need to start watching the lessons and you'll get it eventually. I can't explain everything in one specific lesson. But anyway, going back to what I was explaining, when you have the Edomites, they came over here, all right, to colonize and conquer this land, America, all right, United States primarily, but all of America. But the focus is USA, all right, Babylon, as it's called biblically, New Babylon. And they came over here to get away from the English, all right, well, colonize first, but then after they were here, they, as I said, pillaged, raped, killed, slaughtered, and did all these different things. And they eventually, separated from England and created a new life here. What does that have to do with you? What does that have to do with you at all, Jake? all right, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, doesn't have anything to do with you. You didn't declare your independence from Britain, right? You didn't have anything to do with that. You had your land here when Esau came over and started doing all sorts of atrocity to you. So what are you celebrating? Why are you celebrating independence? Why are you celebrating freedom when you didn't have freedom? When the first 4th of July was celebrated, our people were still in captivity. Okay, the Native Americans were already been wiped out in a big chunk, not completely wiped out, but wiped out in a big chunk. Same with the Ishkarites, right? Southern Kingdom, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and so-called Negroes, and also some of the ones that were also Northern Kingdom as well. They might have looked like so-called Negroes. We were in transatlantic slave trade. We were in captivity. All right, we were on plantations. So again, what are you celebrating independence for? You weren't independent. You were in bondage. You were in captivity. You're in slavery, and you still are. You're still bought and traded and sold through birth certificates. Okay, so what it is that you celebrating, man? Right, Slocky. I'm trying not to say what it is, but what is it that you're celebrating, Jake? Well, I just like to blow off the fireworks. Okay, then why on that day? Why on 4th of July? Why on 4th of July are you blowing up? Well, that's illegal. No, you can blow up fireworks. I think like up to 4 days ahead, right? So why not do it then if you just wanted to blow up a firework, right? If you wanted to just there's nothing wicked with blowing up a firework, okay? But using it as a celebratory tool is wicked, okay? Now we know, according to the laws and ordinance of Esau, right, there's only certain days that you can blow off a firework. It's not like that in Mexico, all right? I believe in Mexico you can blow them off pretty much any day, all right? When can you light fireworks? I looked it up the other day because people were blowing them off, way earlier. They're blowing off weeks in advance. But when can you light fireworks in Mexico? I think it's anytime. In Mexico, New Year's Eve, Mexican Independence Day. Enforcement depends. So, see, they even have rules. So you got to go to according to their, they only want you to be able to blow them off on their things. But if you look up when can you light fireworks in Nevada, I'll just go to New York. All right. They're a big place. Look. In New York State, you can legally light approved sparkling devices. Well, sparkling device. I don't know if you can't do like the other fireworks, but legal fireworks, only ground-based or handheld sparkling devices. But you can light June 1st, July 5th. Okay? So you have all the way since June 1st. All right? Let's go Colorado. From June 15th to July 4th. So why weren't you, if you wanted to just light a firework, and again, it's not wicked or evil to light a fire. I mean, you should be circumspect. It can be dangerous. You don't want to blow your fucking finger off. So just, again, you don't want to get in the point where you're tempting the Lord, but those ground spinners, all those, if you want to light one of those, why don't you do it on June 15th or June 16th or June 17th or June 18th or June 19th or June 20th or June 21st or June 22nd or June 23rd or June 24th? You get what I'm going with it. Why do you got to do it on July 4th, right? If you wanted to just light a firework. Now, here in Nevada, we don't have as long as that. I think you only have a few days. But, oh, no, June 28th to July 4th. So, yeah, you don't really have that long. But some other places give you it longer from June 1st or June 14th. They don't give us that long to light them, all right? But, again, we're in a dry area, so that could have something to do with it. But yeah, June 28th to July 4th. You still have a good several days before July 4th. How many days do you need to blow off fireworks? You want to light a sparkler, or you want to light one of those ground spinny things, or a fountain, or whatever the fuck you want to light, those little green grenade things that you throw and they go bam. Why didn't you do that on June 28th or 29th or 30th? All right, or the 1st or the 2nd? All right. I wouldn't even do it on the 3rd because the 3rd's too close. Right? Hell, if you can do it in June 28th, if you can even get out of even before it being June, That'd be the best way to do it. Other states, they have more leeway, right? So if you want to just light a firework, Jake, and I'm explaining this because Jake has a thing where they like to use excuses. Well, I just wanted to light the firework. Yeah, you can only do that on July 4th. No, you can't. You can do it on the 3rd. You can do it on the 2nd. Like I said, the 3rd, personally, I wouldn't even do it because it's too close. But the 2nd, the 1st, right? The 30th, 29th, the 28th, right? You could do it any of those days, right? You're telling me you don't have any of those days that you could have done it. All right, well, some of those days was probably Sabbath, so you shouldn't have been doing it on those days. But, you know, there's no other day that you could have done it. All right, if you go from the 28th, all right, 28th was 28th morning, all right, you know, could have done it then, all right, but you want to do it after night, right? Well, what about after, right now, Sabbath, Sunday to Monday, what about Monday evening? Right? You could have done it Monday evening, right? After Sabbath, right? You could have done it Tuesday. You could have done it Wednesday, right? You could have done it Thursday, right? It's Friday. Like I said, it's a little too close for me, but I didn't even like fireworks. I don't even do that like that. Not to say that I wouldn't ever. I debated stopping by the firework thing to just get one of the. I wanted to get one pack of those little ground spinners. I can't remember what they were called because those things were cool, but I ended up doing it. Right, but that was days ago. I think that was before even allowed time. I was like, oh, maybe I should do that. No, just to get one or two, because it's not wicked to blow off a firework. But again, yeah, and we know that yes, the only time they sell them is around July 4th. But why would you do it on July 4th? You could have done it on the 3rd, the 2nd, the 1st, the 30th, the 29th, the 28th. Like I said, the 3rd for me is too close. That feels like the eve. That feels like July 4th eve to me. So I wouldn't even do that. But 2nd, 1st, all right, the 30th, all right, Monday evening, you could have done it. All right, and that's in Nevada. All right, in other places they gave more leniency. You had almost, several weeks. Okay, so enough with the bullshit. Enough with the bullshit. Because I just always like to get that out there because I like to do it because the fireworks or the children or what. Well, every other day it's fuck them kids, but now it's for the children, right? It's making excuses, Jake. Just making excuses. So anyway. Romans 12 and 1 through 2, we're going to get through it. It says, I beseech you therefore, brethren, by the mercies of Yahweh, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto Yahweh, which is your reasonable service. Well, my mom is going to be mad if I don't, go over and sit on the rooftop with her and watch it. Well, so what? So what? So what if she's mad? Right? So what if she's mad? And again, technically, if that's not even technically wicked in that, if you had, if your mom wants you to go ahead, we're going to have a dinner, baby. You can come over and, your uncle and your aunties are going to be there. And it just happens they're having a 4th of July celebration. All right. And you go over there because she offered you a plate and you want to see your uncles and stuff. That's not wrong. All right. That's not wicked. All right. You know what you're over there for. But I would not be, go ahead and light the sparkler, son. No, I'm good. All right, I'm all right. I'm good. I don't really celebrate it. I just came over to see you and Mama because I love y'all. Right? I just wanted to see the family. I'm all right. I don't really celebrate none of these holidays, but I do love y'all. I just came over to see you and have a plate of food. Right? So just do it that way. Again, the Lord knows, your thoughts. All right. He knows if you're guilty or not. All right. He knows if you went over there because you really wanted to light a firework off. All right, and celebrate just a little bit. He knows. He knows. Right? You ain't got to prove yourself unto us. You got to prove yourself. Again, it's not about being acceptable unto man. Right here it says it, acceptable unto Yahweh. Okay? So you don't have to justify yourselves before us. We're men. You have to justify yourselves before Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Okay? So he knows, right? But again, the elders and the apostles, they all talk about it. They all talk about it. If you go over there, even Christmas Day, right? Because your parents, say, oh, you come over and whatnot, and you go over there. Say if you go over there because that you want to play, you just want to see. That's the only time you're going to be able to see your Uncle Bill, right? And you want to go and see him. You haven't seen him in years, right? He only ever comes down for holidays because that's how it is with a lot of families. They only come down for holidays. So if you want to see, your Uncle Larry, all right, or your auntie, all right. Well, that's pretty much the only time that you're going to be able to do it, all right? And there's going to be celebrations and festivities that are going on in the places where they're at, okay? Well, again, the Lord knows where your mind is at, where your soul's at, where your heart is at, all right? He knows if you're going over there to see Uncle Larry or if you're really going over there because you wanted to give out some presents. And you don't need to go over there and give no present out. Say if you're over there and someone hands you a present, all right? Now, you just got to accept it with all humility, right? I got you some. Oh, thanks, And did you get me anything? Oh, I don't really celebrate. I feel, I feel bad that you got me this, right? And oh, okay, however it goes. It starts an issue, at the end of the day, you don't celebrate it. All right. But if they say, go and get your present, it's under the tree. Nah, I'm all right. All right. I don't want to do none of that because that's an act of bowing down to, Nimrod tree. You're bowing down before Nimrod. All right. That's an idol. All right. That tree. So you don't want to do none of that. And you can, just yike them, man. Oh, my back kind of hurt. I can't really bend down. Could you grab it for me? Right, something like that. I messed my back up at work the other day. I'm really not trying to bend too much. Could one of y'all grab it for me? That'd be great. Right, because they're already participating in all the wickedness. Right, it ain't gonna do them no more harm because they're already doing that. They've already done themselves harm. So, and then just open it with humility, man. There's not no fuck you and your present. I ain't opening that shit. Fuck you, ma. Right? No, you ain't gonna do all that. All right. And I asked the elder. Actually, the elder was Elder Menatazatba. Years ago, all right, what happens if someone gives you a present? Because I told my folks years ago to stop sending me stuff, and they still want to send me stuff. But now it's just like, all right, thank you, I appreciate you, right? And I'm like, happy birthday, thank you, I appreciate you, right? But I've also let them know that I don't celebrate none of that stuff, so don't expect to get no birthday wishes from me, right? It ain't gonna happen. And I say, it ain't nothing personal, it ain't that I hate you. It's just that I've told them, I'm like, and what I participate in, all right, with following the Bible, we're not supposed to be, involving ourselves in secular holidays like that. And they'll just look at you like, oh, you're too deep, right? And then they really won't fight it too much. Sometimes they'll ignore it. They'll keep expecting something of you. All right, they'll get mad every day that every Father's Day that you didn't say nothing. Some of them will get mad. Not every parent, every Mother's Day or whatnot. But let them. All right, it'd be better to have them be mad at you than to have you get destroyed because you're over here celebrating wicked holidays to go along to get along, right? And that's like sometimes with your parents, you just gotta honor them from afar, man. Honor them doesn't mean to follow their wicked ass ways, okay? Because all our parents are pretty much wicked, almost. There's some people that have, parents that are in this truth, but pretty much all our parents are wicked as hell, man. Okay, honoring them isn't following after following a multitude to do evil, as we're gonna get here in just a moment. That's not what honoring them is, all right? Honoring them isn't say, you're going to church with me, and you say, okay, I got to do it. That's not honoring them, okay? That's going along to get along, all right? You shouldn't be entering up in those houses of Borgia, all right? Those idol worship houses. So anyway, and again, like it says in verse 1 here, acceptable unto Yahweh. That's what we're supposed to be doing, not unto man. It doesn't really, and your parents are just men, all right? It doesn't really care what they think at the end of the day as far as, what you should be doing. Oh, you shouldn't be worshiping that. Well, who'd you say his name? I don't know. You should be worshiping Jesus, baby. No, that doesn't matter. Their opinion, doesn't matter. All right, you're old, you're grown. All right, and some people like that, they'll go back into the world just because the mama said, Mom, you can't come over here, baby. It's Jesus. You always grew up on Jesus. Don't forget what Jesus has done for you. All right. And going and get your ass destroyed because you love your mama so much that you want to be a follower. Okay, that's not what honoring your parents is. Okay, honoring your parents is, they gave birth to you. All right, they respect you. And I've actually asked the apostle for more, what's the word? Clarification on what the full biblical meaning of honoring is. But to my extent that I have, at least now currently, it's you honor them. All right, they gave birth to you. And, you're not going to purposely try to tarnish their reputation or, cause harm unto them. But at the same time, it doesn't mean you're going to blindly follow them either. Okay? You got to do what's right to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. You got to do what's acceptable unto Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, not unto men. And your parents are men, all right? Or, well, man, all right? They're men and women, but, man is in mankind. So it says in verse 2, this is the kicker, right, as they call it. And be not conformed to this world, or your parents, because your parents are worldly, right? People of the world. It says, and be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of Yahweh. We're here to do the will of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, not the will of our parents, all right? Not the will of the world, not the will of man, but the will of Yahweh. Okay, that's what we're here to do the will of. That's what Yahushua did the will of. All right, the Son, he did the will of the Father, and he kept it perfectly, right? So we're not to conform ourselves to this world and mold ourselves and sculpt ourselves down to what this world expects of us. Okay, this world expects wickedness of us. They expect us to be fucking homosexuals, and indulging in all sorts of fleshly lusts and doing whatever we want, whenever we want, and living free and free to sin and destroy ourselves and corrupt ourselves. No. All right, we conform ourselves to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai through these holy scriptures, not to the world. Okay, so but a lot of these people, they conform to the world. You know, oh, it's Christmas. I'm gonna celebrate Christmas. It's Valentine's Day. I'm gonna celebrate Valentine's Day. It's 4th of July. I'm gonna celebrate 4th of July. It's Halloween. I'm gonna celebrate Halloween. Or what they try to do is they try to, you know, do a gotcha moment. All right, they try to say, well, I don't celebrate July 4th. I celebrate July 1st, right? Where, you know, I have a big old barbecue. I get all the families over. We blow out fireworks. We do all that, and we do all those things. But it's not July 4th. It's July 1st. Well, you're doing everything that sounds like a celebration of 4th of July to me, right? The barbecue, you're cooking, right? You got the family over. You're blowing off fireworks. I mean, that sounds like 4th of July to me. You're doing it so close, right? You know, or like Thanksgiving, you know, oh, well, I don't celebrate Thanksgiving, you know, but on November 2nd, you know, I do cook a turkey and I do gather the family and we do have the, all the fixings and the goods and the cranberry sauce and the yams and we do sit around, we do say what we're thankful for. We do that, but it's not on Thanksgiving. Matter of fact, we call it God's Day. Like that one guy, he said, oh, it's Yahweh Shai Day. What do you call it? That's not Yahweh Shai Day. No. When does it mention Yahweh Shai Day in the Bible? Of going and on Yahweh Shai Day, go and get yourself a turkey. And when does it? It doesn't say that in the Bible. You want to know why? Because it's bugged out. That's madness. You're trying to be one foot in, 1 foot out. All right. You're trying to do this. Well, I don't celebrate Christmas. All right. I celebrate Miss Chris. And instead of December, I actually celebrate it in the end of November. All right. We do give presents. All right. And we do all these things. We do burn. It's not like a Yule log, but we burn a thing called a fuel log. All right, we keep that burning all night, and put different spices and stuff on it, and do that. And now we don't have a Christmas tree, but we do have a fir tree. All right, we don't decorate it with silver and gold, but we do decorate it with red and blue, right? But it's not Christmas. It's not Christmas, and we do keep the presents under there, and we wrap them up. And all that, but it's not Christmas. We're not celebrating Christmas, man. We're not celebrating that. And we do have a Miss Chris Eve as well, where the kids they leave out brownies, all right, for the servant of Miss Chris, all right, and he'll come over and nibble on the brownies. And he actually has these dogs that pull the sled of his, so we'll leave little dog paw tracks out, for the kids to see that the dogs can't. That's Christmas, man. That's Christmas with extra steps. All right, because you're trying to be secular while being, in this and you can't, man. Well, I only do it for the kids. Well, fuck the kids, right? You said fuck them kids. Well, why? You're gonna get destroyed for your kids, and you're destroying your kids. All right, you're supposed to, raise up children in the right way in this truth. All right, so when they're older, they don't depart. Roughly paraphrasing, right? It's in scriptures. Brother can put that in the comment board if he wants. And so you're gonna raise them the wrong way. Anyway, Jake's an asshole, all right? And that's why the 4th you'll die. If you do this shit, you're just gonna die. That's fine. Well, don't be surprised if you go and do this shit in the truth. All right, you're over here celebrating 4th of July. You end up at the very least, blowing a fucking finger off. Okay? And, I blew my finger off. Well, the Lord did that, all right? That was judgment because you weren't supposed to be doing none of that shit, but you wanted to do it anyway. This is Exodus 23:2. It says, "Thou shalt not follow a multitude to do evil. Neither shalt thou speak in a cause of decline after many to wrest judgment." Let's get this in these 4. Boom, 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 boom. It says, New International Version, "Do not follow the crowd in doing wrong. When you give testimony in a lawsuit, do not pervert justice by siding with the crowd." All right, you're a crowd pleaser. Okay? You're a crowd pleaser. Not a pleaser of Yahweh Shem Shai, a crowd pleaser. A people pleaser. Okay? This is the NRSV, the New Revised Standard Version. All right, this, mind you, I always like to get this version because this is the scholar's choice. Okay, this is the scholar's choice. This is the one that they teach you in seminary schools. They use the NRSV. Okay, so like to get it because this is the one that, if you get those scholars, all right, those apologists, they'll try to argue with it, and this is the one they were taught reading, so they can't argue with what they were brought up reading, right? And I like the NIV. The NLT is pretty good too, matter of fact, I think I'll switch this over for now to the NLT. Let me see. Maybe I'll like it. That's NLV. NLT. So yeah, we'll switch it over. I've been using the NIV. I'll switch it over to what a lot of the brothers use, the NLV. Or the NLT. Alright, so now I got the King James, the NLT, the New Revised Standard, and the Amp Bible. All right, these are the ones you're primarily going to see in the brothers use. All right, you can get one more if you want. It would be the Good News Translation. Oops. Okay, you get these 4, or these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, these 5. I don't usually, really with just the 4, you're fine. But New Living Translation: you must not follow the crowd in doing wrong. When you are called to testify in a dispute, do not be swayed by the crowd to twist justice. Okay, yeah, that's a little heavier than the NIV, so I'll use the NLT more often then. I do like the NIV though as well. The NRSV: you shall not follow a majority in wrongdoing. When you bear witness in a lawsuit, you shall not side with the majority so as to pervert justice. You would just want to side with them because I think he's wrong. I think he's wrong. I think he's wrong. But you're like, no. According to scriptures, that guy is not wrong at all. He's wrong. Okay, I'll side with you guys. All right? No, you're perverting justice by doing that. All right? Amp Bible: you shall not follow a crowd to do something evil, nor shall you testify at a trial or in a dispute so as to side with a crowd in order to pervert justice. Good News Translation: do not follow the majority when they do wrong, or when they give testimony that perverts justice. Okay? You're not supposed to do those things. As a matter of fact, I'm going to switch this over to the GNT. All right, no, I'll keep it like this. So, yeah, you're not supposed to be doing those things. You're not supposed to follow a crowd, a multitude, all right, to do something that's wrong, to do something that's evil. Well, everybody else is doing. It's like I always like to quote it, all right, because it's one of my favorite albums. The Cranberries. Everyone else is doing it, so why can't we? Okay, everyone else is doing it, so why can't we? That's not a way to. It's everybody had that saying, heard that saying from their parents when they were younger. If all your friends were jumping off a cliff, would you go and do it? Most of these people, they always say no. Most of these people, they should have answered yes. All right, they should have. All right, because they're letting these people out here just corrupt them. They'll say I like pie. Actually, cake's better. You're right, cake is better. My favorite music is rock and roll. Actually, R&B is better. You're right, I like R&B better. Man, what are you doing? You're just going along to get along. You can't be like that. You can't go along to get along. All right, let's get Colossians 2:8. Let me turn on my light here. All right, let me grab a drink too. I'm at it. All right. Colossians 2:8. So King James Version first, of course. It says, beware. Be careful, right? Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit, after the tradition of men, after the rudiments of the world, and not after Hamashiach. Okay? So you got to be on your guard, all right? Because there are people out here and people, there's things in the world that going to try to, corrupt you. Okay? They're going to try to get you on traditions of men, their philosophies, right? Their deceits, those things that they're going after, they're going to try to get you into that, all right? Instead of following Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. So you need to be on your guard, man. Look, think about it, man. All it is just blowing off some fireworks and eating some steaks. I mean, we're hanging around here with the family, right? So what? We wear an American flag shirt, Well, it's all good fun, man. How wicked is it, right? What sin are you committing, right? That's what they're going to try to do, all shit like that, right? So, anyway, this is dullards, all right? Unspiritual individuals, okay? It says, this is the NLT, don't let anyone capture you with empty philosophies and high-sounding nonsense that comes from human thinking and from the spiritual powers of this world rather than Hamashiach. That's high-sounding nonsense that comes from human thinking. Well, think about it, brother. How evil could it really be? All right, there's no scripture that says thou shalt not light a firework. There's no scripture that says thou shalt not. I mean, come on, man. America wasn't even formulated yet. All right, they're going to say all these different types of things. And they're going to try to get you to go, you know what? Yeah, you're right, man. You're right. All right. And that's what they're going to do. And the people that, go along to get along that and can easily be corrupted, you're really just simpletons, man. There's a bit of homework for you. Go and look up what a simpleton is. Okay, simpleton. That's what you are. You're a simpleton. So the NRSV, the New Revised Standard Version, it says, watch out that no one takes you captive through philosophy and empty deceit according to human tradition, according to the elemental principles of the world, and not according to Hamashiach. Great. Amp Bible. See to it that no one takes you captive through philosophy and empty deception, pseudo-intellectual babble, I love that, according to the tradition and musings of mere men, following the elementary principles of this world, rather than following the truth, the teachings of Hamashiach. Right here, GNT, the Good News Translation. See to it then that no one enslaves you by means of the worthless deceit of human wisdom, which comes from the teachings handed down by human beings and from the ruling spirits of the universe, and not from Hamashiach. These things are handed down from man to man, okay? Not from Yahweh Shem Yahushai, but they're traditions of men, okay? That's what they, Yahushai never celebrated the 4th of July. Well, obviously he wasn't around. Well, yeah, but I mean, if he was here right now on Earth, he wouldn't be celebrating that shit. Because why? What? He hates this place. Okay? This is spiritual Egypt. All right, he was crucified. His name's been dragged through the mud. They talk all sorts of way. Why would he celebrate this place? Why would you celebrate this place, Jake? Why would you celebrate it? One good reason. One good reason. Smoke weed and drink. Okay. Don't you do that every other day anyway? Why do you have to do it specifically on that day? Right? Or even if you're going to do that, because you can't stop you from doing anything, all right, being secular. Say if you're going to do that. Why do you got to light fireworks along with it? Right? There's no excuse. You can try to go off of everything, all right, and try to just do all these things, but at the end of the day, you're not going to be able to what? There's no excuse. Because you want to celebrate it because your homeboys are celebrating it and your mom and your dad celebrating it. That's why you want to celebrate it, all right? You want to be secular. You want to be worldly, all right? That's why you want to do it. That's why you want to do it, all right? Because a lot of people just want to be worldly, all right? They just want to be worldly, okay? Anyway, let's get, this was a word for what we were going earlier, Colossians 2 and 8. We just got that. So, beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit, after the tradition of men and after the rudiments of the world, and not after a Mashiach. Well, I wanted to get what the word spoil means here, and it goes back to this word.
Strong's
it's Greek.
G 4812. Silagogeo.
All right. And it says right here, to carry off as captive and slave, or to carry away from the truth and subject to one's sway. Okay? Now, what does it mean to subject to one's sway? We can have Google break that one down to us. It says to be under the influence, control, or domination of someone else. Okay? You're being ruled or directed by a person's power, authority, or persuasive authority. Not Yahweh Shem Yahushai. All right, you're subject to you're being led away from the truth and subject to someone else's beliefs. And why would you do that? Why would you do that? Let's see. Let's get Amos 5, because I pulled it up. It's a bonus. All right, it's a bonus edition. Because I was may not going to get this, but I forgot that I left up the search on it. So... And then I did have it wrote down as a potentiality to get. So I'll read it. So the Lord's not down. First of all, if you're not celebrating his days correctly, he doesn't even want anything to do with it. Let alone if you're celebrating some other days and say, oh, I'm doing it in the name of the Lord. No. Amos 5 and 21 through 23. It says, 21, I despise your feast days. Isn't that what you do on 4th of July? You feast. All right, and then on Christmas you feast. It's all these feast days, all right, holidays. It says, I despise your feast days. I will not smell in your solemn assemblies. No, notice that it doesn't say, I despise my feast days. I will not smell in my solemn assemblies. It's talking about you, the ones that you're holding, right? Calling yourself, even if you're calling yourself, I'm doing it for the Lord. It doesn't matter. Okay, it says, though you offer me burnt offerings and your meat offerings, I will not accept them, neither will I regard the peace offerings of your fat beasts. Take away take thou away from me the noise of thy songs, for I will not hear the melody of thy viols. So even if you're going after Yahweh Shem Yahushua, but you're not doing, for example, like those individuals were doing, celebrating Yahushua Day, eating pork and all these things, we call it Yahushua Day, right? He's not going to smell on that. Even if they're praying to him and taught, he's not with it. He's not with it. Okay? He is not with it. So you can go and look roughly into what that said. It's not the best description, but it kind of gets to a point. What else? How long have we been going on for? About an hour. So I'll get this. Here's a little bit of information. There was actually a book by Frederick Douglass, allegedly, called, not allegedly, it's here. What to the slave is the 4th of July? That's a point to just think about. What to the slave is the 4th of July? Nothing. It's nothing. So I just typed in slavery during the 4th of July, the first 4th of July, and of course this came up. But all I wanted, during the first 4th of July in 1776, slavery was deeply entrenched across the United States. Roughly 500,000 black people were held in bondage. There's probably more than that, but they're lying. I'm not going to say probably more than, there was more than that, but they're lying. Were held in bondage, making up about 20% of the population. Furthermore, a significant number of the men who signed the Declaration of Independence were slaveholders themselves. The stark contradiction between the country's founding ideals of liberty and brutal reality of human bondage defined the holiday for black Americans. The most profound critique of this paradox was delivered by the abolitionist Frederick Douglass on July 5th, 1852 in Rochester, New York, in his famous address, "What to the slave is the 4th of July?" Douglass asked, "What to the American slave is your 4th of July?" I answer, a day that reveals to him more than all other days of the year the gross injustice and cruelty to which he is the constant victim. But you're celebrating it, Jake, right? And a lot of y'all are all down with Frederick Douglass, right? You like all those human rights activists, right? But you're still gonna do it, all right? Here it was, you were in captivity. Your Indian brother, Indian as they say, Native American and Latino brothers were being slaughtered. But let's celebrate, right? Let's celebrate. So this is Jeremiah 10:2 through 3. Let me mark it down. Okay. Jeremiah 10:2 through 3 says, "Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them. For the customs of the people are vain. For one cutteth a tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workmen with the axe." I'll get 4 as well to show you what does this sound like. "They deck it with silver and gold, they fasten it with nails and with hammers, that it move not." Basically talking about Christmas right there, right? That's what you guys do during Christmas. Absolutely. But going back up into 2, you shouldn't be learning any of the ways of the heathen, all right? And this is one of the ways of the heathen. This is learning, this is envying the oppressor, all right? Which it also warns not to do, all right? Envy not the oppressor and choose not of his ways, right? Well, that's what you're doing. This is Esau's thing. This is their Independence Day, right? They got away from the British. And you were in captivity, Jake, so this isn't something for you, okay? This isn't something for you. This isn't something you should be fellowshipping with, all right, as we're going to close out with. We're going to get Ephesians 5 and verse 11, and then we're going to close out. It says, "And have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather reprove them." So you're not, look right here, NLT. "Take no part of the worthless deeds of evil and darkness. Instead, expose them, right? Make a lesson, right? Like what I'm doing right now. That's what the other brothers are going to be doing. Either if it's not today, they're going to be doing it tomorrow, all right? But I'm doing it today because normally I would do it tomorrow, but hey, can't say I didn't warn you. Can't say you weren't warned. "Oh, well, I didn't know. I ended up celebrating it." Well, this came out on the 3rd. Tomorrow's the 4th. So you had a day. And there you've been had since last year. I don't believe that you haven't heard the truth. All right, you're bullshitting, right? So, the NRSV, it says, "Take no part in the pretty much the same thing." Ant Bible, "Do not participate in worthless and unproductive deeds of darkness, but instead expose them by exemplifying personal integrity, moral courage, and godly character." There you go. And then Good News Translation finally, "Have nothing to do with the worthless things that people do, things that belong to the darkness. Instead, bring them out into the light." Show, hey, our people are still in captivity, all right? All these different types of things. What are you really celebrating, all right? This is Esau's little celebration, all right? A vain celebration at that. you should have no part in it. All right. And that's why, the 4th of you'll die. All right. Because if you celebrate this shit, you ain't going to make it. All right. The Lord's going to, you're going to be put to death. All right. You're not going to make it. Okay. And that means you'll die if you don't make it. So that's where we're going to close it. Lord, well, it was edifying. If you get it, you get it. You don't, you don't. All right. Nothing more needs to be said. You either do or you don't. I do this annually. Every single year I make this lesson. I try to, at least. There's some years where I didn't end up doing them, but I try to do them at least every year annually. So that's the lesson. Lord, well, it was edifying. If you get it, you get it. You don't, you don't. Again, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadah. Shalom to you brothers and sisters out there. Keep enduring, keep the faith. If you're just coming to this, again, there's always the quick start and the playlists. If you have any questions, all right, in a decently order, you can drop them down below and I'll try to get to them. Until next one, Lord willing, Shalom.